Oh my gosh, I barely made it. And look, there's so much going on in the chat already. What did I miss? What did I. Welcome to Friday Live Question of the Week. This is one that I do get quite a bit. How can I be funny? And what jokes can I tell in the wedding ceremony? And you are all here to find out what jokes you can tell in the wedding ceremony. And you're going to be disappointed if that's what you came for. But thrilled you are here. Thank you for joining. Okay, maybe I've just lost half the people. That was a little like a hint, not a spoiler. Maybe it was a spoiler. What's going on in the chat? Mark is here. Good to see you, Mark. You win. You commented at 56. Although, around these parts, 4 minutes to start time. That's unusual. A lot of time there's a comment 25 minutes before or something. So good job, Cantor Mark. You tagged the base. Good to see you here. You're asking Lavender Lace, will you do the PSAs and color commentary? John is here. Good day from Massachusetts. John, you and I have just been emailing back and forth. I just sent you an email. You emailed me. We're getting you your certificate for you're an Academy member. You're a pro member. We're trying to make sure you have all the things you need. So congrats on plowing through the coursework, John. You are doing awesome. And I believe we have, let's see, RL Red tuning in from Stratford, a.k.a. The Strat. Yes, that's a beautiful spot. Stratford, Ontario. Good to see you here. Sabrina's here, 61. I love that Sabrina's like just go right to the temperature. That's what we're really here for, right? Sure, I talked for about half an hour, but mostly we want the roundup of the temperatures where we are. I'm wearing a sweater today, a brighter color than usual. I'm freezing. If you're thinking, is Mark's nose running a little bit? Yeah. And it's one of those like -5 Celsius days that feels more like -50. I'm like clutching my warm drink. I don't know, one of those days. I live in a 140-year-old kind of maritime style, big old drafty house built by boat makers. It's like living in a museum. Love it, but it comes with its downsides on cold days. So today's one of those days. Thanks everybody for piling in. I love seeing all the numbers here, people watching live. I've got a really good one for you today because I do get asked, how can I be funny? And what jokes can I tell in the wedding ceremony? I do want to deliver on that question. I don't want to be like a crotchety old man about it, but there is definitely some nuance and some finesse to that question. And so I've kind of like written myself a bit of an outline here because I want to tread carefully. But I also want to lay out for you how I answer that, because I do get asked a lot. And a lot of these Friday Lives are not just me saying, okay, if 1, 2, 5, 10 or people have asked me, there's chances are there's many, many more. I also want to give people a link when they ask me. Answer the question, but also, hey, watch this link. And that's where those of you who are in the chat sharing your opinions, which is why sometimes I just like to read out what's going on, because if people are watching this on replay, and as you know, if you've been here before, you can watch all the replays on my YouTube channel. Just click on the live tab. If you are watching on the replay, you might not kind of see the chats all the time moving up in the right side panel. So I do like to read out and say what you're saying in the chat. For example, it's very important for us to know that Ben is in the car on the way to a wedding rehearsal. I might not respond. Ben, hands on the wheel, do not respond. I'm going to say we're listening to you. We know that you're here. We feel you in spirit. Eyes on the road. Everybody wants you to arrive at that rehearsal. There's too much at stake here. So thanks for being here. Mitzi is here. Amazing. Thank you for your Instagram post, Mitzi. Mitzi posted a picture of herself holding up my book, which is right here today. This is not Wedding Hero Wednesday, so I don't need to do this, but it is here still from Wednesday. Every Wednesday I'm going live. We're working through the book, so Mitzi grabbed her copy. Great to see you. Doris is here from New Jersey. Happy Friday. Looking forward to learning some good stuff today. Well, I hope I can deliver on all that good stuff, Doris. Ralph and Karen are here from Spokane. Good to see you here. Latina's here from Texas. Elaine is here. Oh my gosh, let's see. Highlight was the weather. Been on holiday in Tenerife. Is that how I say that? I've never even heard of this place. Highlight was the weather and jumped off a mountain. Terrified, but my paraglide pilot was 3 times world champ. Oh my gosh. Paragliding in Tenerife, if I'm saying that right. Definitely going to look that up once we pop off here on the live. D is here from Jersey. Good morning, John. Good morning, Diana from Vegas. Good to see you here. Ava's here from Ava's wedding. Scott from Georgia. This is amazing. There's so much going on. Temperatures are being shared. Temps of -4 in Spokane. Paul's here from Trumbull. Paul, should I say that you are one of the most recent people to ask this question? And I feel like Paul sometimes is like poking the bear, priming the pump, kind of prompting me to come up with great stuff for Friday. So you're one of the people who kind of reached out and said, what do you do for humor in the wedding? Somebody else in our members only Facebook group, I think this week, asked, the couple doesn't want the story, and so what do I do in terms of humor? How do I make this fun? And so that's been very recent. It's kind of a constant stream, and I think part of that for me is influenced by this sense of, hey, I really like people having fun at the wedding. Always have. That's why I've named my company Unboring Wedding. And of course, all the pictures behind me, couples laughing, me laughing, lots of good times. So I do want to jump right in, even though there's a party going on in the chat. And sometimes I feel like I'm doing this, but the party's in the chat. So I want to jump over there and get in the party. So good on you. You guys make it very enviable to be in the chat. So many amazing members from Unboring Wedding Academy and Pro and our community. And Ava says your replays are like my Netflix. I'm happy that you can binge away. I'm glad you know where to find the replays on my YouTube channel. Go into the live section and you can watch everything. So here's hey, Jean from Jean or Jeanne from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Good to see you. So here's I want to make a distinction right off the bat. So today we're going to talk about this distinction of being funny, telling jokes. I want to share with you kind of a motto that I have, something that can be your true north, your guiding star when you want to have a fun atmosphere or environment in the wedding ceremony. Because ultimately, and this is the real spoiler for today's talk, I think, is what we are aiming for is people having fun. That is really the atmosphere. When you're asking, how can I be funny, or what jokes can I tell, or what jokes should I tell? That's that old marketing thing. Nobody wants a drill bit. What they really want is a hole, right? You don't want a drill bit. You'll go to the store, you're going to buy a drill bit, but you're only buying the drill bit, bit of a tongue twister there, because you want a hole. And so that's one of those, copywriters, marketers' secrets, where you don't talk about the drill bit more than you talk about the hole that is going to be in the wall or the piece of wood or whatever it is. That's what the customer really wants. And so I know you're asking when you're saying, how can I be funny and what jokes can I tell? It's not because you're thinking, how can I further my stand-up comedy career? I certainly hope you're not using weddings to advance your stand-up career, because that would be super cringy. I think what you're asking is, I want the couple to have a great time. I want guests to be laughing and having a great time. How can I achieve that, right? And so that's where I want to make the distinction right off the bat. I'm gonna share with you kind of my motto, and then I'm gonna give you a little hint that you can put on your website or answer a couple when they ask you a related question around humor or being funny. I have it as an FAQ, and I want to show you what that looks like and how I've written it. And so stay tuned for that, because that's how I'm going to wrap this thing up. So here's the thing. Funny versus jokes. Okay. So how can I be funny and what jokes can I tell? People ask me this in different ways. And here's what I would say. For me, because I can only answer this kind of from my position, for me, I don't think I've ever told a single joke at a wedding ever in my 10 plus years of officiating, 11, 12, something like that now. I know some of you count and notch and know exactly many you've done. That's cool. That's not how I work. I'm a scuba diver too, and I should be logging my dives and know exactly how many, writing them in the log book. I'm not organized enough for that. So I know I've officiated hundreds of weddings, 10 plus years. I don't think I've ever told a single joke. Now, so let's just kind of like, if you're a joke teller, I'm not saying that that's wrong. What I am saying is jokes are such a matter of taste that I would venture to say that you're treading on dangerous ice, treading on thin water. No, treading on thin ice, treading dangerous waters, walking on thin ice. There you go. Aphorisms are really tough sometimes when they're all mixed up. When you are telling a joke, when you're deciding to tell a joke, half the room might find it funny, the other half might not. One half of your couple might find it funny, the other half of your couple might not. So that's what I mean, where because telling jokes and being humorous is a matter of taste, it is a bit risky. So that's where right off the bat, I think there's a difference between being funny and telling jokes. So I'm going to just put it out there. I've never told a joke. If you're asking me what really good jokes have you told, Mark, or can you think of a joke? I can't. I can't, because I never have told a joke, and I personally, I never would tell a joke. I'm not passing judgment on you, but I will say, when guests sit in the seats at the beginning of a ceremony, it is the best crowd, but also the most, I don't want to scare you, but the most kind of judgmental crowd, in the sense of, we're at a wedding, they've seen bad officiants before, they've been to many weddings that were not so great. Everybody knows about the really, cheesy officiant, in the same way like Adam Sandler made fun of this whole thing in The Wedding Singer, those kind of loungy, cringy, wet reception singers. We are sometimes a caricature. So that's why every single wedding I do, I know going up there that it's the best crowd waiting to happen, but there's also probably like a measure of skepticism, that this is going to be boring. We've just got to get through this. And I think that's helpful to go in knowing that. Because at the same time, I also say they want it to be the best experience ever. They want you to do so well for the people that they love, who are there getting married, and they're going to be standing in front of you. So they are begging God above that you are going to be respectful and fun, and hey, maybe even entertaining, and hey, maybe even unboring, and hey, even, I talk a lot about this bar that I hope rises and rises over the next few years. Those of you who are members in Unboring Wedding Academy with me and Pro, we are working on this revolution together. We are not satisfied with that. In fact, I'd love a few years from now, we're still a little ways off, I think, but we're working on it. I'd love for it to just become understood and accepted that when you're going into a wedding ceremony, it's going to be fun. Like, it would be the other way. If it was disappointing or subpar, you'd be like, that was unusual. Unfortunately, right now, it's the other way. People are shocked when it's amazing. I'd rather it to be the other way. So when you get up there, should you start telling jokes? Well, I'm going to say it's like a tough crowd already, so I wouldn't do that. Do you want to be funny? Well, again, this is, people ask me, Mark, then how are you funny? What are all these people laughing in the photos? And, I'm presenting to you right now, and people say, Mark, you're really fun, you're really funny. And that to me is the segue into the motto, the slogan that I want you to keep in your mind when you ask the question of yourself, even, or, you're not going to ask me anymore because you've been on this call. But when I get asked, how can I be funny? What jokes can I tell? I want you to think about this. And here's the mantra. The motto, the slogan, the mantra you need to remember when it comes to humor in a wedding ceremony, being a humorous wedding officiant, is you're having fun up there. You're not trying to be funny. Okay, so that's a huge distinction. You're having fun up there, but you're not trying to be funny. Okay, say it again. You're having fun up there, but you're not trying to be funny. That has been my modus operandi since day one. I knew, those first weddings I officiated, they were tight, they were a bit straight laced. I definitely knew I wasn't going to try to be a joke teller or be funny, because you're kind of straitjacketed up there. It's a wedding a little bit. But the second then that I started to loosen up a little bit, and I did it for my first wedding. I wasn't comfortable in my first wedding, but I started to realize as I did it more, wait a second, if I'm having fun up there and being myself, and me being myself is me liking to have fun. I think that's coming through on here. I always like to have fun, no matter what setting I'm in. I like to laugh. I like to joke. I don't like to take things too seriously. Things are serious, but I don't like to take them too seriously. But I'm not going to try to be a funny man in front of the guests during a wedding ceremony. Okay, so people ask me then, how are you going to do that? How are you having fun up there? And this is where I want to be kind of more specific. I don't want to just say that, because a lot of people who purchase the course, become a member, they say to me, Mark, like, I'm not an extrovert. I'm not a big personality. And I say that's okay. You do not need to be like a black hole of energy up there, just sucking the life out of everything in the room. Some of us tend to be like that naturally, but other people, parents and aunts and uncles and friends who buy the course, they want to stand up there and crush it and make it all about their couple. But, they're like, I'm not that huge personality. And that's where I say, thankfully, that doesn't matter. Because of that motto, have fun up there. And that's where it doesn't matter what your kind of what you exude is. If you're the kind of person who can have fun, and I think everybody can have fun, you can show that you're enjoying yourself. Okay, so think of you enjoying yourself most, and I mean, whether that, even if that's sipping a cup of tea and reading a book. What mode are you in when you're having fun? Do that up there, because that's going to look and be very different for every single person. You don't have to try to be like me, and I don't have to try to be like you. And that's where, again, if you're telling jokes, kind of like a lounge singer in Vegas or something between songs, it's going to just like, you're going to be setting people off, because the job is to officiate the wedding. The job is not to be funny, right? And so if you're having fun doing your job in front of the guests, they are going to think you are the greatest officiant they've ever seen. They don't just think the big, bombastic officiants are the best they've ever seen. In fact, that'll make plenty of people cringe or say, that person was a little too much. I think maybe I'm a little bit too much sometimes for some people, but you can only be yourself. So I got to be me having fun up there. And if you being quiet or more introvert style is being you up there, that's great. Be that, do you, but do it having fun. Okay, so here's my kind of 3 specific ways I can think off the top of my head to do that. You want to engage the guests in a really fun and encouraging and friendly way. So this is the have fun part. You're not being funny, have fun with the guests. So if you've heard my opening remark, I bang on this all the time. You walk up there, you turn, you face the guests. Maybe you walked up with one of the marrier and their party. Maybe you're alone. But, everyone's looking at you expectantly. That moment is scary, especially if you're a first timer. But I would say, even if you're a seasoned veteran, I'm excited for what's going to happen 5 seconds from that moment. But when you look out and it's all strange faces, and again, they're sizing you up. They just are. We're thin slicing, Malcolm Gladwell's books. We just can't help but thin slice. People are looking at you and they're making decisions about about you and what they think about you. That's where you want to start having fun. How do I do that? I have fun with the guests. I say, "Good afternoon, everyone." Nobody says anything back. So is it time for me to tell a joke at that point? No. No, I say something like, and you can steal this. This is again having fun. Make a comment that works for you. Don't tell a joke, but this is where I say something like, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're the only one here and we're allowed to make as much noise as we want today. So I'm going to ask that again. Good afternoon, everyone. And everyone says, good afternoon. They just start shouting. It's like immediately they're on your side. And so I think when people ask, how can I be funny? What jokes can I tell? Obviously, you don't mean like you want a drummer off to the side. But shit. Did you hear the one about the? Maybe some people do, but I don't think so. Again, you're aiming towards the hole in the wall, using the drill analogy, that you want is people having fun. And so what you're really asking, I think, too, is what are some parts where you say some fun things? I got an email from Gwen yesterday saying, yeah, but Mark, like I see this YouTube live coming on Friday, and I'm still interested in what you say when something unexpected happens or something goes awry. Well, thank you. I love that Gwen sent me that because it was a good idea, something I might not have included here. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That's a time to have fun. Ironically, when you think, so this is again, guests and couples are going to see that you have fun in a moment where something fell over. I don't mean if somebody falls over or faints or hurts themselves that you start having fun with that. No, be discreet, use your judgment. But a lot of time in the wedding ceremony, the wind will blow and something crazy will happen. Or, I've had brides like veils like blow off or something like that. And you don't want to embarrass anybody. So that's where you don't want to like make a really dumb comment. But we're going to get there. I'm getting ahead of myself. The guest engagement stuff is where you want to have fun with the guests. So I have fun with them by saying, good afternoon, blah, blah, blah. And they cheer. And then I say, are you ready for this event? Half a decade in the making. So another thing that's really fun is if your couple's been together a long time, you kind of make a big deal of that, because sometimes, again, if it's a groom and it took him, sometimes in the story, it took him forever to propose, or he never would have proposed. And this is kind of stereotyping, but I've told this story so many times. Like half the stories that I tell where it involves a bride and groom is like the groom is waiting for him to hurry up and freaking propose. And so if that's going to be in the story, I do like to hint at the beginning. It's, are you ready for an event? I mean, 5, 6, 7 years in the making, and I'll look at the groom and everyone will laugh. And so again, that is, you're adding levity, you're having fun with the guests. You're not roasting anybody. You're not embarrassing anybody. The groom will often just kind of shake his head and be like, yeah, man, I was a fool for waiting that long, or something like that. And then you give your opening remarks, which is very important. Turn off your phones. And yes, you may take photos, but be discreet, or no photos, please. And then at the end, you say, all right, having gotten that house stuff out of the way, are you ready to get these two hitched? And everybody cheers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you say, all right, well, thank you for getting this started. Let's begin. So see how you're connecting, you're having fun. That is what you want to show right off the bat. If you're in that kind of sweat-inducing environment with guests, they're strangers to you, you're strangers to them, and you start telling jokes that'll polarize the room, you are actually doing yourself a lot of damage. So have fun with the guest, whatever that looks like for you. I've had people say, Mark, I'm really shy, I'm really quiet. I don't think I can pull off the like, are you ready? And I'm not saying you have to do the let's get ready to rumble voice. I'm saying, though, ask the guests rhetorical questions like that. Are you excited for these? I've had some very quiet clients, members of the academy or coaching clients, and I'm on the phone with them, and I'll say, just say that. Ask the rhetorical question. Are you ready for Sam and Alex to get married? You don't have to be loud about it. Everybody will cheer and give you their support, and you're in. So have fun. You don't need to worry about being funny, because the effect of everybody having fun back at you is really what you were trying to achieve. Does that make sense? The second thing I would say is telling a great story. Okay, so that's kind of this. I've got 3 here. Got ahead of myself with Gwen because that's a third one. Telling a great story is what you're seeing here. When the couple, the opening remarks, the couple's never standing in front of me. the story, every single one of these photos on my website or behind me here, captured by amazing photographers, that's happening during the ceremony, of course. So uh, that's their story. I'm not cracking jokes with the couple, in front of the couple. I am just telling their story. And so telling a really fun, lighthearted story. I've got an 8 point kind of rubric, formula, filter, you could say, inside Unboring Wedding Academy, that I always encourage in terms of making sure it's a foolproof, the best version of a story it can be. But one of those is highlighting their differences, contrasting their differences, telling what they learned about each other is another one. And so, like, they're learning, she's learning he's not that into peanut butter, even though she invited him over for peanut butter sandwiches and he didn't say anything. But now he clearly doesn't like her peanut butter sandwiches. See how that will get everybody roaring. Was it that funny? Did you drive off the road, Ben, hearing that? Probably not. But in a wedding setting, it doesn't take much, especially when they're in front of you and you are highlighting those differences, contrasting. Well, she thought this, but she thought that, and that, people love that. It makes for such great moments in a story and some of the hardest laughs. And so a lot of those photos you're seeing behind me are moments like that, where you are telling the story in present tense, contrasting their differences, talking about the things they're learning about each other that end up being idiosyncrasies that just, it works every time. And so put that in your tool belt, telling a great story and having fun, telling it in a fun way. That's why I programmed the Love Story Caster inside Unboring Wedding Academy to tell the story in a really fun, lighthearted, a touch of humor. That's what you want. You don't want it to be a list of facts. You want that kind of gentle ribbing, that like, she thought this and she thought that, he thought this, she thought, and this was strange, and that kind of thing. They're going to laugh. Everyone's going to laugh. You're having fun with their story because their story is likely very fun. And the third thing, as Gwen encouraged me to share, was what happens when there is some sort of mishap. And again, if nobody got hurt, I would say have fun with it. Okay, so that's where just keep that in your mind. You're having fun up there. You're not trying to be funny up there. So that includes, I've been in a ceremony where, nice, big, beautiful candle canisters at the end of the aisle. Somebody hits one and it smashes and puts glass all over the aisle. And you're thinking, they've got to go up the aisle in the recessional still. And so, one time the planner everyone was like, oh, it just brought a lot of attention. And then, of course, I said, this is the one you want to remember. Anytime something like that happens, and I learned this from Conan O'Brien. I think I say this in the course, because I'm just so interested in these guys who go up every night, the late show kind of comedy show guys, and they have to do a stand-up routine every single night, and they have to interview guests, and like, it's just such a frenzy. Something happens a lot of times. Some rigging falls down or something unexpected. And Conan O'Brien said, and I just heard it years ago and never forgot it, like, when something happens, you just say the thing. You just say the thing that happens, that just happened. You don't even have to be funny about it. So, like if a light falls from the rigging in the ceiling, he would do something like, oh my God, what kind of place is this? What are we running here? Immediately getting self-deprecating. And just saying, a light just fell. Did anybody see that? Is everybody okay? But you can have fun with something like that when you see it wasn't serious. Just have fun and name the thing. Now, a quip might come to your head. I remember one time when a baby was crying a lot, I said something like, "Isn't it? I just love it when people cry at weddings. I'm clearly doing a good job up here because look at that. She's just crying away. Something like that. Really, all I'm saying is, people cry at weddings. That little one is crying. So obviously, this is beautiful. What's happening up here?" and people love that. Again, it's just me having fun. Now, once I said that once, I was like, ooh, I'm going to tuck that away. And I've said it many times since, okay? I remember one time it occurred to me that, something about, we don't want your phones ringing. We don't want we don't want a ring going off. And I said something like in the opening remarks, so turn off your phone. The only the only rings we want in this ceremony are the wedding bands. And people kind of groaned, and I was like, yeah, that was bad, and and so I was like, ooh, maybe I did tell a joke in a ceremony once. It was more like a terrible dad joke pun, which of course over the last 11 years since having my daughter, I've just been getting worse and worse at with the dad joke puns. And sometimes they just come out in inopportune times. But this is an example of when things don't happen the way they're planned. You want to have kind of your crying kid one. I love when people cry at weddings. You want to have the when something happens, like the thing falling over or whatever. Here's a line for you that you want to remember. Just like we practiced. I use that one all the time. When the best man really screws up the rings or something, or drops it, especially, even though we've rehearsed and I've told the best man, the way to hand the ring over so that he doesn't drop it, he'll still drop it. And then I would say, no, that's perfect, Travis, just like we practiced, just like yesterday. That was great. And again, everybody laughs. And so that one, just like we practice, even if something falls over, you say, yeah, no, right on cue. That was just like we practiced, supposed to happen. And so you're kind of diffusing the moment. When that glass canister fell over, the planner started running up and sweeping it up. I said, oh, I don't think I think we wanted that for the, up the aisle, stepping on glass ritual at the end of the ceremony. And of course, people laughed, and it was absurd. But because everybody was looking at the planner cleaning up the glass, I just wanted to kind of make light of it. Like, no, I think we want that there. Of course, they didn't listen to me. They kept going. But it was just a sense of like, how can I have fun with this in this moment so it's not embarrassing and scandalizing? You might come up with more clever quips. And so this is what I would say, like, how can I be funny? First, whatever happens, just say the thing. Okay. So, oh my gosh, there's glass all over the aisle. And then you might think of something. And if not, even if you don't think of something funny to say, you're giving people the release to acknowledge the thing that happened. And just say, okay. So I have that, like, if somebody's crying and the bride is clearly like troubled by her running makeup, I will stop and say, does any gallant person have a handkerchief or something for, Sam to take and then offer to her, something like that. But you need to stop and you need to have fun and just be down to earth and let things happen. Okay. So that is my answer to how can I be funny? What jokes can I tell? Jokes, not for me. Being funny to me is going to be different for everybody, but it's having fun in the moment. And I just wanted to give you some of those things to have in your tool chest, just like we practiced. Or I love it when people cry at weddings. Obviously, this must be a gorgeous ceremony and I'm doing a great job. Something like that. Naming the thing that happened and taking the pressure off yourself. Having fun engaging the guests. When the couple are up after the processional, another one is, of course, I say, here they are. They're here today to get married. They're just perfect for each other. Can I get an amen? Or a heck yeah, or I'll read the room. Sometimes I'll say hell yeah, depending on how I'm gauging. And people will shout back. And that's just me having fun, kind of making sure they're still there, making sure they're pulled in. I like to have fun. I don't at all feel like I have to be funny or tell jokes. So the way I phrased the question this week was a bit of a trick question, bit of a bait and switch, I guess. How can you be funny? Just by having fun. What jokes can you tell? You don't need to tell jokes, but you might have a quip. You might name the thing that happened, and everyone will leave that ceremony saying, wow, that officiant was so fun. And that is ultimately the hole in the wall that you want to drill. I don't know if that analogy works there. Anyway, you get the point. Okay, so now I want to show you, because I was actually, the last thing, I was concerned by all these photos behind me and on my internet, on my website, that couples would look at that and be like, I'm worried that this guy is a stand-up comic. I'm worried that this guy is going to crack jokes the whole time. And so this is where I want to share with you this tab here. Okay, so on my website, I believe your website needs 5 things. And I'm going to do one of these coming up. What does my website need? That's another, I get asked that question all the time. One of them is an FAQ page for your officiating website. Okay, there you go. That's one of the 4. And you'll see here, this is FAQs. I always say you want your website to have a goal of driving people to inquire and make a meeting with you. So that's why I have the inquire about your date right there, and boom, they will be able to go and fill out your inquiry form right there. You always want every page to make it super easy for them. But um, the inquiry is about getting into a meeting with you. I've talked about this in other settings, and my pro course teaches you how to do this: the chem check, the vibe check, or whatever you want to call it. Pitching yourself to a couple, meet every couple you work with. I say if it's a full blown wedding, and I put just enough questions on this FAQ page to answer their possible objections. And so my first question here, if you can see that, I just want to make sure you can see that. Yeah, I think so. Is I see a lot of laughing in your pictures. Do you tell a lot of jokes, Mark? Okay. Because again, I was worried that they would think they're hiring somebody who fancies themselves as a real comedian. And I say, you'll notice I never use the word joke in describing what I do because I don't tell jokes at your wedding. Then I go on and say there's an important difference between humor and a joke. I love to laugh. I steer away from jokes. I find that these kind of jokes are cringe-inducing or offensive. Any of the humor will be about a funny memory in your story. I don't tell jokes. I find lighthearted and contrasting occasions in your love story that make us laugh. And those are the moments in these photos. Okay, so that is an example. You might want to say, I like to have fun. You might want to say, I'm going to engage your guests. However you want to do that. But you can feel free to use some of that wording and just handle those objections right off the bat. If you're worried that people are going to think that you might be trying to be overly funny or that kind of thing, you don't want that. And that's where I've set up that distinction. We're going to have fun. I want all of my marketing, promotion, communication material to show that this is going to be fun. All members of Unboring Wedding Academy, I hope when you landed on the page with all the details of the course, with that buy button, you got the sense that this is not going to be dry. This is not going to be boring. I like to have fun. That's, like I said, that's going to mean something different for everybody, but having fun is something we can all understand. And so I want my couples to understand that as well, that I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to make it all about them. But yeah, we're going to laugh. Okay. So that's it for me. It is, I really talked a lot there. Sometimes the topics that I think might take the least amount of time, because I'm sure there's going to be a topic one day coming up where it's really going to be 10 minutes. I'm sure of it. There must be a shorter way to answer these. but thank you so much for joining me live. If you have any questions in the chat, feel free to pop those in right now. I'm seeing lots of great comments like, you're not ready to rumble, Mark? No, I am ready to rumble. I just don't think you don't need to use that kind of bombasm if you don't need to. Ava said, I had so much fun at the ceremony I did last weekend. The crowd was lit. Ava, that is the key. You had fun. I love that you put your finger on that. That is awesome. Okay, Gilbert Gottfried telling the aristocrats joke. Okay, that is, I love Gilbert Gottfried. Let's see. I've got another, let's see. My first wedding is officiant in April. How much do you read versus memorize the wedding script of a story? Mike Tweedy, I love that. Hope you're still with us. Mike, you memorize none of it, okay? Don't memorize any of the script. Read it. That's why you write an amazing script. Once it's written, that's 90% of the work. You can see how I'm reading in every single one of these pictures. My binder, I have a video on how to read your script without being glued to the page. Take that pressure off. You're going to script that thing, literally, script every single word like a crafts person, and then you don't want to wing it and hope it works out. I always turn a phrase, put the emphasis word at the end. The word of most impact is the last word in the sentence, all that stuff. And so you just get up there and read the whole thing. Mike, I hope you're still with us and you hear that. Take that pressure off of yourself for sure, okay? Diana said, I booked my first wedding today. Oh my gosh, your second one, but your first one canceled. Okay, that's amazing, Diana. You're on your way. I know you're a member, and I can't wait to see all the good things coming your way in 2024. Good for you. Natalie, a member of Unboring Weddings, says letting people know that you're unboring really helps. Yeah, letting people know that I graduated from Unboring Academy gives them a good heads up. That's amazing. Again, this is where like the vibe check, the chem check, I call it, as I talk about an Unboring Wedding Pro, the business course, where you're building a practice. You want most people find their way to me because they've already have been asked by a friend or relative or something like that. But if you're just trying to, get out there and be found by clients, you want to have that vibe check where they're sussing you out, and you want to learn how to pitch yourself. And so that's really important too. Yeah, to say I was educated at a place called Unboring Wedding Academy. So really fun, story centered, couple focused weddings. Those are all the things that they want to hear. Mitzi, telling the truth is what is often so endearing and funny. It's authentic, exactly, including in those moments where something happened. Well, that just fell over. That's all you need to say. Is everybody all right? Okay, I think we can move on. It's that simple. Not saying nothing about it scandalizes everybody. Trying to think about some kind of really clever thing to say in the moment is just too overwhelming for a lot of people. And so just say the thing. Something might come to mind, something might not. Check everybody's okay. Shall we proceed? Okay, I think we can continue. Just that kind of thing. Ben says, still laughing about peanut butter. Okay. I'm glad. I really didn't think that would make you laugh out loud, Ben. But hey, you're an easy crowd. That's great to know. And pulling over for coffee. You must be on a long drive. Hopefully you don't need. Hopefully it wasn't just a 10-minute drive and you just stop every 3 minutes for a refill. But hey, to each his own. Bonnie Williams, everyone, thumbs up this video. Thank you, Bonnie. I don't know who's. I'll send you your check in the mail for whipping everybody up into liking this. I appreciate that. Mike is here. I think you heard it. Okay, you love my material. Really helping with some confidence. Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Write a great script and just read it up there, and you will do absolutely great. Opening remarks, for example, that's something as you do more and more weddings over time, you don't need to read probably. I do the same thing every time. Turn off your phones. We don't need those. And no, you may not take pictures. Sometimes I'll make a fun little comment there. Like, I always name the photographers, and I'll say something like, don't worry, their photos are going to be so much better than any photos you would take. So just leave it to them, that kind of thing. Having fun with the guests. That'll mean something different to everybody. Okay, I'm going to pop off now for the weekend. It's a long weekend here in New Brunswick. We need it. It's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I will be here on Wednesday, if you're watching live, doing my Wedding Hero Wednesday. We're working through this book, Wedding Zero to Ceremony Hero, my #1 bestseller. And it's really to make sure that if you're new, if it's your first time, although again, I love how, dozens of members show up. This really keeps me going. The Marks and the Mitzies and the Bens and I shouldn't name it, Karen and Ralph and Paul and just the usual suspects. I love that you're here. But if you're new as well, this is really helpful. That's on Wednesdays. We're just working through the book. I take a chunk, talk it through, ask any questions. I'm here to respond. And you all in the chat, you make it better. You know more than me in a lot of ways. The hive mind collectively, we are in this together, serving couples, creating great experiences for couples, their guests. It is an amazing thing to be able to do. And so I'm really, really thrilled you're here. Paul says, thanks for making the distinction between fun and funny. Yeah, I think that if you leave with nothing else today, fun and funny, take the pressure off yourself. You don't need to be funny. If you're having fun, people will leave saying, that was incredible. That officiant was one of the best we've ever seen. And you weren't even trying to be funny. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bonnie says the book that started my new career. So thrilled. Once Upon a Dreamer, lots of face hearts, that kind of thing. Oh, you have President's Day on the Monday, President's Day. Cool. Thank you very much. I will see you twice next week. That is the plan. And have a great weekend, everybody. I really appreciate you being here. All right. Mary on, have a good one.